Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, there's three things I want to take a look at least three. A little story, a little poem, and reading something from the summary study of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam about Krishna, about the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. The first is, I don't know where it's found. It's somewhere in the Vedic scriptures. And Prabhupada tells the little illustration. Hey, Lance, Hare Krishna. Story time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Once upon a time, Narada Muni was visiting the Lord, and the Lord, Vishnu, gave him a mission. He told him he wanted Narada to be able to see how wonderful the devotion is of a devotee who actually has full faith and is completely surrendered to God, what their devotion is like. So he told him, I want you to visit, to compare, I want you to visit two of my devotees. They're both devotees. And I want you to be able to see the difference in their... Hey, Hare Krishna. Madhu. Story time. Lord Vishnu is giving Narada an assignment, and he's telling him, I want you to visit two of my devotees. The first is a very learned Brahmin. He's very austere, he's very learned, he is qualified to perform all kinds of sacrifices and ceremonies, and he's my devotee. And the other is also my devotee, but he's in kind of a low-class situation. He's a cobbler. In order to earn his living, he has to take the dead carcasses of the different animals, the cow, and and he has to skin, after they die. In Vedic culture, nothing's wasted. When the animal dies, naturally, they don't have slaughterhouses, at least not then they didn't, back then. And when the Vedic culture was actually up and running nicely. But he has to deal with the dead carcasses of the animals, the cows, whatever dead animal. And he has to skin them, take the skin, and he has to clean the skin, he has to tan the skin, he's always touching the... And sometimes the cobbler also, I mean, you don't want anything to go to waste, right? The animal died naturally. They'll take the meat and they'll eat the meat. You know, they'll cook it, they'll have something to eat. Hare Krishna. So it's a kind of a low-class lifestyle. They're always touching the rotting, dead things. And he makes the, actually the madranga. The madranga heads, the sacred drum, is made from the cow, the leather of the cow. And he makes shoes and different items from the leather of the animal. Such a useful animal. Every part of the animal is useful. So it's kind of a low class, but he's a devotee of the Lord. So Lord Vishnu, Narayan, he said, I want you to visit my two devotees. Visit the Brahmin and visit the cobbler. And I want you to tell them that you've just been with me and that you're coming with a message. I'm giving a message. And the message, he gave them separate messages for the two different devotees. So Narada, he goes and he visits the Brahmin, and the Brahmin is exhilarated to be in the presence of the great sage, Narada Muni. Oh, Narada, he offers all respects, he does the washing the hands, ringing the bells, offering the seed, he does the whole thing. And Narada tells him, I have a message for you. And the Brahmin, at first he asked, he said, you've just come from my Lord. Oh, please tell me, what was he doing? What were his activities when you just came from him? So Krishna told Narada to say, he was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. The Brahmin's like, he never saw that in the scripture anywhere. What verse is that? You know, where's the account of that? That sounds, I don't believe that. He didn't believe it. It's preposterous. What? He couldn't understand. So he got over his dilemma there, and he said, well, when will I be delivered? What did the Lord say? When I will be liberated and delivered from this material world. And Krishna had told Narada to tell him, you'll be delivered, you will come back, you are my devotee. But the Lord says it'll be many, many lifetimes. You still have many lifetimes to go. Okay. And Narada Muni visited the cobbler. And the cobbler, in his own humble way, he fell before him and offered his obedience. Oh, the great saintly person, Narada Muni. Oh, the great messenger of my Lord. Oh, you're here in my presence. He was overwhelmed. And so Narada explained to him, I've come with a message for you from the Lord. He sent me specifically to you. And the cobbler says, oh, he said, you just came from the Lord. What was he doing? What was my Lord doing when you came from him? What were his activities? You just were with him. What was he doing? And Narada explained, because Vishnu had told him, tell him, he was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. And the cobbler says, oh, how wonderful! Oh, this is ecstatic. But my Lord can do anything. Oh, this is terrific. Thank you so much. And Narada's like, he said, you're all right with that? He said, yes, of course. Of course I'm all right with that. And then the cobbler, he said, look, there's an apple. An apple tree. Okay. Within the apple, there are seeds. And each of those seeds can produce a whole nother tree that has who knows how many apples on it that all have seeds in them that can produce another tree. If my Lord can do that, put a tree inside an apple seed, what's the problem with threading an elephant through the eye of a needle? I don't see a problem. He was in ecstasy. So then Narada explained, so then the cobbler asked, and did he say when I would be delivered, when I would leave this material world? And Narada said, yes, he gave me the message that you will go home this very lifetime. This is it for you. You're going home. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Krishna, God, he wanted to show by that two examples how different devotees are situated. Some it's going to be many, many lifetimes still. In others, they're going home this lifetime. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I'm still want to know what the bodily features of Jambavati are. That is, to me, in the category of threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. I mean, she was the daughter of some sort of animal. It was, sometimes in the Vedas, Jambavan is compared to a bear, and he was living in a cave in the forest. But then also he's considered like a gorilla. So he was some type of animal, very powerful animal, that fought with Krishna and realized that in a previous life he was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. And he offered his daughter to Krishna when he had his realizations that he was a servant of Krishna. But he was in some kind of a very unusual bodily form that, for us, since we're so proud of being human beings, right? We're the only ones that can serve Krishna. Krishna. So with his other queens, I really want to know, and I don't know, Madhu, if you can find this, oh my God, I will be even more eternally indebted to you, Krishna, for all the wonderful referencing. There it is, you find it. But Rukmini, she was the daughter of King Vidarbha, and her bodily features are described. She had beautiful green eyes, she had beautiful teeth, beautiful bodily features, lovely, and all the different princes at the time were trying to get her hand because she was such a prize to catch. And her bodily features are described, and Krishna kidnapped her. And Satyabhama, the daughter of Satrājit, when the difficulty with the material attachment to the jewel given to Satrājit by the sun god, there was some conflict there, and when it was resolved, Satrājit he felt bad. But not really out of love for Krishna, but more out of, he was feeling very ashamed because people were looking at him like he was the lowest of the low because he had caused a problem with Krishna. So it wasn't really out of devotion to Krishna, it was to clear himself. It's still like a false ego thing. But he did offer his daughter, he was king, and he also had a princess, Satyabhama, and she was very beautiful. And her bodily features are described to a degree. But when it comes to Jambavati, the daughter of Jambavan, the jungle creature, there's no description. It just says she was of marriageable age. She was also the daughter of a king, but he was the king of the jungle animals. It was a whole other kingdom. So for me, this is in the category of he's threading an elephant through the eye of a needle because Krishna brought her back to Dwarka, and her son was Samba. I'd really like to hear get some clarity on that. Did Jambavan give birth to a human type child? Who was her mother? Where did she come from? What did she look like? So it's kind of like the elephant through the eye of the needle. I mean, I'm okay with it. I can accept it because, hey, if Krishna, as a little boy, 6 years old, can lift a whole mountain, to protect thousands and thousands of devotees with their cows and everything from a huge storm created by Indra. And everyone can still see him as a little boy and think, well, maybe he needs a little help. And the cowherd men had their staffs and their sticks to try and help him hold the hill. Hare Krishna. And Mother Yasoda can have Krishna on her lap and look in his mouth and see the entire cosmic situation, the universal form of the Lord, and even see herself inside that universal form holding Krishna on her lap, see all the demigods, everything, and still think of him as her little child. Krishna needs protection and Hare Krishna. But really, I'm hoping someday to get some clarity on Jambavati. She's a real mystery like that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay, that's the stories. And now the poem. It's a very famous poem. It's actually a soliloquy from Shakespeare. Hamlet's soliloquy, where he's looking at the human situation. Says, this is in Hamlet, where is it? Scene 1, Act 3. To be or not to be? That's the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say, we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come? When we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long a life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin, who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life. But that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have and fly to others that we may not know of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. I don't claim to understand completely some of these things, but we can get the gist of it. We can get the gist of it. Basically, fear of death keeps us alive. As miserable as a situation might be, if we have no knowledge of what's after death, it could be worse. And for some, it will be. Hare Krishna, due to sinful activities in this life, destination is not very good. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya's instruction, wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. Tell them Krishna's instructions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if it's done with love, they'll be able to hear something. So that's our challenge, is to develop love of Krishna so that we can carry love of Krishna and the message can be heard. It's not just what you say, it's also how you say it. I was just looking at a little definition of language. It performs two functions. One function is to give information. And the other function of language is to express feelings and emotions. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Well, both things are in spoken words. And that's why when we do texting, we have little emoticons, so that you can make at least some feeble attempt at expression and feeling. A smiley face, a frowny face, a worried face. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. What is it in the spiritual atmosphere? All speaking is singing, and all moving is dancing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's really our big challenge, is to not just tell people the message, although something is better than nothing, but how it can be saturated with the spirit of love and devotion, and then it's really powerful. It becomes very powerful and relishable and attractive, and different emotions are expressed when we give the message. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, that's our challenge. How to get there. Hare Krishna. Krishna sends help. Krishna sends association. Hare Krishna. Oh, perfect. Krishna. I especially like in that, there's so much in this little soliloquy here. It's really wonderful. When Hamlet is listing the different things that are so painful, he says, the whips and scorns of time, they're getting older, diseased, the oppressor is wrong, they're being trespassed against, abused, the proud man's contumely. I'm not sure what contumely is, but we know, like, if you're in the association with someone who's really proud, the the pangs of despised love. In other words, you're attached to someone, you're desiring a loving interaction with them, and they despise you. The closer you get, the worse they get. Sometimes people kill someone too close. The laws delay. So there's some legal problem and it's not getting straightened out. The insolence of office. Okay. Someone has... I worked for a little while behind the counter in a motel. For a little while. Indian motel. A Patel motel. And I had a friend who needed a job, so I recommended them to the motel manager, and they hired her also. So we had name badges, and for her, the name tag was a badge of authority. She was so hard on the customers and the guests. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. She was really rude and rough with them. She wasn't nice. It wasn't the hospitality at all. It was a badge. She had authority. And it was like all day long they were coming to me on my shift and complaining, and I had to apologize to them. Hare Krishna, Hare. So she considered it, she was an official. She had a badge. I mean, it was just a name tag. It was like, I don't know, authority. Name tag, but she took it very seriously. And wow. So the insolence of office and the spurns, the patient merit of the unworthy takes. So that's a little bit of an awkward sentence, but what I see in it is if you're very patient with someone who's not worthy of your patience, that's painful. You're very patient with them and they just continue to, they don't recognize the value of you being patient. Hare Krishna. They continually walk all over you with football cleats. And then the other thing he says is, when he himself might his quietus make, I'm not sure what quietus is, but from the usage, it looks like his humble position, with a bare bodkin, who would fardals bear. I don't know what fardals is, but the next sentence, to grunt and sweat under a weary life. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. For himself, he doesn't need anything, but somehow he's in this position where he has to work like an ass. Hare Krishna. So yeah, that's really a great solution. I'm probably going to look those words up at some point. But I want to just read. Krishna book! By His divine grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, the summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. And Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kinka Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivaridhari. Gopijana Balaba Girivaridhari. Yashodanandana Dashasanarandana. Śatadhanvā Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. This is partway into chapter 56, the killing of Satrājit and Śatadhanvā. So, Śatadhanvā, he surrendered to Krishna, but not out of really a kind of desire for devotional service and love. He even gave his daughter. But it was more because of his own reputation, which was the argument that Vasudeva used to try to keep Kamsa from killing his sister, who was prophesied to give birth to Lord Vishnu. One of the arguments Vasudeva used was, it'll ruin your reputation if you kill your sister on her wedding day. Nobody likes somebody who's too cruel. Your reputation is at stake. What will people think of you? No one will like you. Everyone will hate you and think of you too cruel. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So Śatadhanvā, Satrājit, he had that a little bit. It was his reputation. He had kind of smeared Krishna, spreading the rumor that Krishna had killed his brother and taken the jewel. And people kind of in Dwarka were very confused by that. So he gave the jewel to Krishna and his daughter, but Krishna didn't accept the jewel. He said, no, you keep it, and we'll all benefit if you worship it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But he took Satyabhama. Oh, well, take her. That's no problem. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It was interesting. Satyabhama and Rukmini were always kind of in a little co-wife competition with each other. You can see it in the Parijata pastime. One of them got a Parijata flower, and the other one was very envious. And so Krishna had to bring her the whole tree from the heavenly planets. Krishna. So Satrājit has that little bit of unwholesomeness about him. And Śatadhanvā was an out-and-out criminal. He was a murderer, he was a thief, he was like a really nasty person, Śatadhanvā. And they were teamed up. And somehow Akrura was in there. Um, so Akrura, it said, got entangled with these characters because the gopis were unhappy with him because he took Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan, which he was insensitive to the Vraj Leela. He was a resident of Dwarka on majesty, reverence, and the supreme personality of Godhead. He was insensitive to the delicate pastimes in Vraj, where Krishna was not worshipped like that at all. So he was cursed by the gopis. So he ended up entangled with these characters. So Satrājit, after getting back the jewel from Krishna, he was satisfied and kept it with him always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, there was a conspiracy by many men, including even Akrura and Kritavarma. I don't know why they were away from the city. Oh, they went to Hastinapur. Okay, Krishna and Balaram went to Hastinapur, but there's so much intrigue. Oh my goodness. Dhritarashtra's sons built a palace for the Pandavas and invited them to stay in it. It was made of flammable material, and their plan was to set it afire one night when they were all sleeping, which they did. But the bodies that were found there were not the bodies of the Pandavas. They were the housekeepers. The Pandavas had escaped the fire. But everyone thought, except for Krishna and Balaram, they knew they weren't killed, that they had been killed in the fire, and so they were going to Hastinapur to take part in the bereavement of losing the Pandavas. So they were away from Dwarka. While they were away, another plot is taking place. All this all around Krishna. After getting back the jewel from Krishna, he was satisfied, kept it with it always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, they were in Hastinapur, there was a conspiracy by many men, including even Akrura and Kritavarma, who were devotees of Lord Krishna, to take the jewel from Satrājit. Akrura and Kritavarma joined the conspiracy because they wanted the jewel for Krishna. They knew that Krishna wanted the jewel and that Satrājit had not delivered it properly. When he offered the jewel to Krishna, he didn't really want to give it. It wasn't offered. What is it? If one offers me with love and devotion a fruit, flower, leaf, or water, or a precious jewel, I will accept. But if you offer me a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, and a precious jewel without love and devotion, I'm not interested. Because really, what do I have to do with a fruit, flower, leaf, or water, or even a precious gem? It's the love that I want. So he didn't offer it in devotion. It wasn't offered. That's what it means properly. Others joined the conspiracy because they were disappointed in not having the hand of Satyabhama. Okay. So Satyabhama was the daughter of Satrājit, and they were angry at Satrājit for not letting, these were the other princes, not letting one of them have Satyabhama and giving her to Krishna. Some of them incited Śatadhanvā to kill Satrājit and take away the jewel. So they didn't do it themselves. They had this hitman, Śatadhanvā, who was accustomed to killing people. He had no problem with it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So Śatadhanvā entered the house and killed Satrājit while he was sleeping. And everyone in the house was crying very loudly. A lot of the women were there. And even Satyabhama was there. Because Krishna and Balaram were away from home, she went to stay at her father's house while they were gone. She didn't have any children yet. And Śatadhanvā mercilessly butchered Satrājit. That butcher kills an animal in the slaughterhouse. So he cut his throat. Hare Krishna. Satyabhama preserved the body of her father in a tank of oil so that when Krishna came back he could see the dead body of Satrājit and take action against Śatadhanvā. Satyabhama immediately started for Hastinapur to inform Krishna about the ghastly death of her father. When Krishna was informed by Satyabhama of the murder of his father-in-law, he began to lament like an ordinary man. His sorrow is again a strange thing. Lord Krishna has nothing to do with action and reaction, but because he was playing the part of a human being, he expressed his full sympathy for the bereavement of Satyabhama, and his eyes filled with tears upon hearing the death of his father-in-law. He really was feeling bad for Satyabhama. Her father was killed. He felt terrible. He thus began to lament, "Oh, what unhappy incidents has taken place." In this way, both Krishna and Balaram, along with Satyabhama, the wife of Krishna, immediately returned to Dwarka and made plans to kill Śatadhanvā and take away the jewel. Although he was a great outlaw in the city, Śatadhanvā was still very much afraid of Krishna's power, and thus he became most afraid on Krishna's arrival. He killed Krishna's father-in-law. He killed the father of Krishna's wife. Come on. You got something coming, buddy. Understanding Krishna's plan to kill him, he immediately went to take shelter of Kritavarma. But, on being approached by him, Kritavarma said, "I shall never be able to offend Lord Krishna and Balaram because they're not ordinary persons. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can be saved from death if he has offended Balaram and Krishna? No one can be saved from their wrath." What a rascal, Kritavarma. He incited Śatadhanvā to kill. And then, "Oh, well, I can't help you. Go and do this, go and do this." "Oh, but hey, the reaction's all yours, buddy." Kritavarma further said that Kamsa, although powerful and assisted by many demons, could not be saved from the wrath of Krishna, what to speak of Jarasandha, who had been defeated by Krishna 18 times, and each time had to return from the fighting in disappointment. So they put this Śatadhanvā up to it. He was obviously stupid. He was a thug, and they put it, I don't know what did they offer him something, give him money or something? But anyway, they put him up to it, so their hands would be clean. They didn't do it, Śatadhanvā did. Like throwing him to the wolves. Here you go, for throwing him in the fire. When Śatadhanvā was refused help by Kritavarma, he went to Akrura and employed him for help. Akrura also replied, "Both Krishna and Balaram are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anyone who knows their unlimited strength would never dare to offend them or fight with them." Or dare to kill the father of his wife. Śatadhanvā must have been really stupid. He further informed Śatadhanvā, "Krishna and Balaram are so powerful that simply by willing, they're creating the whole cosmic manifestation, maintaining it and dissolving it. Unfortunately, persons who are bewildered by the illusory energy cannot understand the strength of Krishna although the whole cosmic manifestation is fully under his control. So Akrura and Kritavarma, they wanted the jewel for Krishna, because they thought, well, Krishna really wanted the jewel, and Śatadhanvā didn't give it to him properly. So they incited this thug to kill Śatadhanvā, to kill, these names, Satrājit, who obviously didn't understand who Krishna really was. I mean, not really, or he never would have done it. Because Kritavarma wouldn't dare to cross Krishna, and Akrura wouldn't dare to, but they put this other guy up to it who didn't understand who Krishna was. Krishna, although the whole cosmic manifestation is under his control. He cited as an example that Krishna, even at the age of 7 years, had lifted Govardhan Hill. Okay, he was 7 years old. And continued to hold up the mountain for 7 days, exactly as a child carries a small umbrella. Akrura plainly informed Śatadhanvā that he would always offer his most respectful obeisances to Krishna, the supersoul of everything that is created and the original cause of all causes. When Krishna also refused to give him shelter, Śatadhanvā decided to deliver to the hands of Akrura the Shamantaka jewel. Oh, that's what got him going. He thought he was going to keep the jewel. It was making gold every day, 170 pounds of gold every day. That's why they put the bug in Śatadhanva's ear. He was a criminal, a thief, a murderer. Hey, Satrājit's got this jewel over there. Why didn't you go get it, man? And they understood that Krishna would then come and kill Śatadhanvā and take the jewel. So that's how they did it. But Śatadhanvā actually benefited because he got Krishna consciousness. How was he going to deliver it? He was a murderer and a thief. So it was great mercy on him. He did service. Satrājit kind of, what happened to him? He's kind of like in the same category as Jarasandha, who was killed by Muchukunda. Wasn't even killed directly by Krishna. He was killed by Muchukunda. So Muchukunda could get liberation. And here Śatadhanvā also he's like Jarasandha. But Krishna took his daughter, so Krishna, he must be getting some benefit. Krishna. Śatadhanvā decided to deliver to the hands of Akrura Shamantaka jewel. Then, riding on a horse which could run at great speed and up to 400 miles at a stretch, he fled the city. Here, you take the jewel. This thing's a hot potato. I'm out of here. When Krishna and Balaram were informed of the flight of Śatadhanvā, they mounted their chariot, its flag marked by the picture of Garuda, and followed immediately. Krishna was particularly angry with Śatadhanvā and wanted to kill him because he had killed Satrājit, a superior personality. Satrājit happened to be the father-in-law of Krishna, and it is in the injunction of the Shastras that anyone who has rebelled against a superior person or Guru Druha must be punished in proportion to the volume of the offense. Because Śatadhanvā had killed his father-in-law, Krishna was determined to kill him by any means. Śatadhanva's horse became exhausted and died near a garden house in Mithila. Unable to take help of the horse, Śatadhanvā began to run with great speed. In order to be fair to Śatadhanvā, Krishna and Balaram also left their chariot, began to follow Śatadhanvā on foot. Krishna, while both Śatadhanvā and Krishna were running on foot, Krishna took his disc and cut off the head of Śatadhanvā. After Śatadhanvā was killed, Krishna searched through his clothing for the Shamantaka jewel, but he could not find it. He then returned to Balaram and said, "We have killed this person uselessly because the jewel is not to be found on his body." So there was two things going on here. He wanted to kill Śatadhanvā because Śatadhanvā had murdered his father-in-law. But here, once he kills him, he can't find the jewel, he says, "We've killed this person uselessly because the jewel is not to be found on his body." Hare Krishna. Shri Balaram suggested the jewel might have been kept in custody of another man in Dwarka, so you'd better return and search it out. So Krishna did want the jewel. Shri Balaram expressed his desire to remain in Mithila city for some days because he enjoyed an intimate friendship with the king. Therefore, Krishna returned to Dwarka and Balaram entered the city of Mithila. I'm talking about action-packed. I mean, dun 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 dun. Hare Krishna. When the king of Mithila saw the arrival of Shri Balaram in his city, he became most pleased and received the Lord with great honor and hospitality. He presented many valuable presents to Balaramaji in order to seek his pleasure. At this time, Shri Balaram lived in the city for several years as the honored guest of the king of Mithila, Janaka Maharaj. Balaram stayed in Mithila for several years because of the worship and service of Janaka Maharaj. During this time, Duryodhana, the eldest son of Dhritarashtra, took the opportunity of coming to Balaram and learning from him the art of fighting with a club. Jai. So this is where Duryodhana made his connection with Balaram and surrendered to him as a student to learn the art of fighting. And Balaram accepted him when he was living in Mithila. After killing Satrājit, Krishna returned to Dwarka, and in order to please his wife Satyabhama, he informed her of the death of Śatadhanvā, the killer of his father. But he also informed her that the jewel had not been found in his possession. Then, according to religious principles, Krishna, along with Satyabhama, performed all kinds of ceremonies in honor of the death of his father-in-law. In that ceremony, all the friends and relatives of the family joined together. Hare Krishna. Woo, Krishna. There's a lot going on in the spiritual atmosphere. A lot going on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Are we ready to go there? The spiritual atmosphere? I mean, look at what's going on. Are we ready for that? Hare Krishna.